We are live in living color. Peace forever and always, and welcome to another edition of what I call the Reality's Temple on Earth Internet Ministry. I am the gatekeeper, host of this program, known here on social media. Wherever you may find me, I am known as the mighty one, Angelsnupnup7, and I am also your soul brother, number one. All right. Technical difficulties. We're about 15 minutes late. I have to apologize. Hold on a second. I got that video playing. Got to stop that. Otherwise, there'll be some more crap going on here. All right. We have in the house our dear sister, beloved friend, and mentor, the original dark-skinned activist, Miss Rashida Strober is in the house, and I want to give her a warm welcome, Reality's Temple round of applause. Here we go.
Thank you very much.
What's up? Long time no see.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. I'm glad to be on here this evening. Thank you.
Apologize for the technical difficulties. That's sometimes that can't be avoided.
No, it's all good. I understand. I had to figure my way around Google Hangout and YouTube and all this stuff when they keep changing stuff around.
Yeah.
That's how it is sometimes.
Well, this thing, as you know, it wouldn't even let me record.
Yeah.
So I had to start all over, do the thing all over again.
We are here, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. We're here. We're in business.
Hey, y'all.
We have limited time, so let's get down, as Gladys Knight used to say, let's get down to the real nitty-gritty, y'all.
There we go.
Yeah, here we go. Now, I heard that you have a play. I don't know. I just heard through the grapevine that you have a play, and you're going to take that play. It's a play that you wrote.
Right.
And you're going to take, and you've been doing it for a little while. You're on tour. Matter of fact, you was in New York not too long ago, I remember.
Yes, I actually wrote this play just to give a little bit of the backstory to it. You started off talking about me being the world's first dark-skinned activist. I take that very seriously.
Yeah.
It's not a game, because since I introduced dark-skinned activism to the platform of social media, which was really to the black world on social media, I've had a lot of people, and I'm just addressing it head on.
Yeah.
Rising, stealing, ripping off, copy, bootlegging, all this is my work. But you can't replace the original. I've been doing the work of dealing with the topic of dark skin consistently well before anybody talked about it on YouTube. This is very important for me to say, because it's all a part of the backstory of why I do what I do and why I'm so passionate about what I do.
Yeah.
This whole thing about dark skin activism, a lot of people will say, "Oh, you're making money. Oh, they're mad at me because I wrote books." Which last time I checked, anybody can write a book. Last time I checked, anybody can write a play, and they can produce the play and sell tickets. That's not a crime, but people are haters. They're mad. They're upset. So here's the thing. People ignored dark skin. It wasn't a topic. Nobody talked about it. Nobody cared about it. I am the first person, and I don't say this in an arrogant way. I say it because I have to keep setting the record straight because of the liars and dishonest people that social media has breeded. I have to keep saying it over and over. I created dark skin activism. It came out of originality, out of my own pain and suffering. Growing up as a dark skin, and I never knew that people would take a hold of the story and say, "Rashida, you're crazy for talking about this," and then turn around and copy or use other people to copy what I did. But that's the world that we're living in right now because of social media. But the originator, which is me, it came out of my own personal pain as a dark-skinned female. And I know I'm talking a lot, but I am naturally an introverted person. I did not say anything. I would be quiet. I would take the blackie, the spots, the uglies. Well, after I got tired of it, after a while, when I was in school, I would your ass, so you won't be my ass. Excuse my language, but that's what it was. After a long period of being abused for having dark skin. So, you know, I took it from my family. I have 5 brothers. I'm the only girl. I have a lighter skinned person in my family that's a female that got better treatment than me. Now, my brothers will probably tell you that didn't happen, but it happened. So, you know, when I look back at things like that happened to me when I was coming up, the attacks of what I now call darkism, which is dark skin discrimination, I was constantly trying to figure out a way to get help. Really, I was looking for somebody that specifically addressed dark skin discrimination. I didn't, of course, call it that at the time as a child, because when you're young, you can't really articulate what's happening to you, even though you know that this is not right. But as I grew older, I started looking for somebody to talk about only, listen to me carefully, only dark skin. So that search included me joining Black movements, Black empowerment movements like the Uhuru movement, which I was a member of for a number of years. My father, I was never a member of the Nation of Islam, but I frequented the Nation of Islam just in search of trying to get an understanding of what it was that I was experiencing as a dark-skinned person, and for somebody to articulate that. There was nobody. There was no such thing as a dark-skinned activist. And people love to try to claim that other people were dark-skinned activists, even though I actually created the very phrase dark-skinned activist. Now that it's out and I brought it to the public, people will try to say, oh, this person was a dark-skinned. No, that's not true. There was nobody that had an articulated, calculated, serious movement for dark skin. It did not exist. If it did, believe me, I'm a very honest person, intellectually honest, morally honest. I would say so. Okay. That person, that movement did not exist. And so my burning question, I had become obsessed with, why were people treating me differently for having dark skin? No one could answer the question. There was no one that was dealing with the topic. And so I said, I'm going to become literally my own savior as a dark skinned woman. I'm going to save myself. And I got the opportunity during Black History Month. They called it Harambe at St. College. This was in 1998. I got the opportunity to speak when I was an undergraduate student there. And a couple of weeks prior, I was in the store, and I still have this magazine cover. I saw a magazine cover of the dark-skinned Sudanese model named Taalik. This was in 1997, way before social media. I'm the originator. I have to stress that. Y'all might think that's arrogant, but years later down the line, y'all gonna begin to understand the historical significance of why I'm pointing out the factual history of how the entire lane of speaking on dark skin got started via social media. So back in 1997, I was in a grocery store. I saw Taalik on the cover. I ain't have a lot of money at the time. I was an undergraduate. Well, I still don't got a lot of money now, but you know what I mean? I didn't have a lot of money at the time because I was an undergraduate student. So I saw this magazine cover. Taalik was on the cover, super dark skin. I'm talking about pitch black. She had a shaved head, and she had on a white pant outfit, and she was just smiling. And I couldn't believe that a white mainstream publication had her on the cover of their magazine. And I bought the magazine. I still got the magazine to this day from 97. And I did a little bit of research, and I found out that this woman was being attacked for being dark skinned too. And I said, you know what? When I got the chance to speak at St. Petersburg College during African American History Month, I said, I'm going to address this. I'm going to talk about dark skin discrimination head on. And I sat and I wrote a speech. And I even talked a little bit about Lauryn Hill, because at the time, 1998, Lauryn Hill had came on the scene, and Lauryn Hill, God bless her, she was making it popular to be a dark-skinned, skinny, nappy-headed girl, if you will. She was the miseducation of Lauryn Hill had become so big at the time. So I think I talked a little bit about Lauryn Hill, but I was primarily focused on Taalik because I noticed that Taalik was receiving the same type of blacky spot. They were saying she looked manly, she was ugly, she wasn't the representation of what a black woman should be. So she was being attacked for being dark skinned. So I sat down that night and I wrote that speech, and I went over it. And I remember I had a 7th grade teacher. I used to participate in the Optimist Oratorical Speech Contest growing up from middle school up until high school. And I had a beautiful dark-skinned teacher who's actually one of my inspirations. She used to always tell me to practice, practice, practice. And I was just sitting there, just practicing and just going over the speech until it was just rolling off my tongue. And lo and behold, long story short, and everything I'm saying is very verifiable. You can go back to St. Petersburg College. I wound up winning this particular contest. It was a $200 and I believe $25 prize that I had to go pick up from the bookstore. And I won. And that was the birth of dark skin activism, because after giving that speech, I remember the same attacks and hate that I get online now. I got it back in 1998. People in the crowd, they was looking at me funny, giving me dirty looks, mumbling under their breath, what you talking about, da, 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 da. They was just giving me nasty looks. So what I realize now is all of that was preparing me for what would happen with social media, although nothing prepared me for the plagiarism of the dark skinned activists' work, still dealing with that. But the attack part prepared me for what I faced years later on social media when I brought the topic of dark skin to the internet, AKA dark skin activism. And so after giving that speech, what I started doing is lecturing. I started doing community activist work. I started writing my books and plays. What I did is I created a very unique lane that had not been done before me on only dark skin. I am the first author, the first actress / actor, because some people will use actor for a female as well. The first social commentator to focus my work only and exclusively on dark skin. People love to claim that it's other people, but historically and factually, you can't win that argument with me, because there's not. I had an argument, somebody started an argument with me today on social media saying that Wesley Snipes was the first. I was like, oh, really? I didn't know Wesley Snipes was the dark skin activist when I actually coined and created the very phrase dark skin activist, but you're giving the credit to him. So people have been doing that to me. First they mock you, then they copy you. So that's what happened. When I brought dark skin activism online, people began mocking me. And now years later, there's so many people copying my work. I mean, they got kids copying, they've got, dark skinned women copying, black men, everybody's copying. And I don't, I'm not gonna say I don't have a problem with it. But the thing is, you need to be honest and say who's the originator of it. I'm not flattered by people stealing and ripping off my work, because I know, looking at the history of where it's come from, nobody cared about talking about no dark skin. So let me get to the play. I was just giving you backstory on how I ended up creating and giving birth to what I call the science of dark skin activism, because that's literally what it's becoming. So what I started doing in 2006, well before social media existed, I still have the copyrights, all of that. I wrote a play it was first called The Ice Cream Lady's Dream. Then I changed it to A Dark Skinned Girl's Triumph, the Rashida Strober story. And then a year later, or 6 months later, I can't remember the exact dates, but in 2006, and I do have the copyright, I wrote the play A Dark Skinned Woman's Revenge. Now, it was called A Dark Skinned Girl's Triumph. I'm sorry, The Revenge of the Dark Skinned Girl. And then I switched the name to A Dark Skinned Woman's Revenge. And the play is simply about the experiences of what it's like to be, what it's really like, the truth about it. Nothing fake, phony. It's the real deal on what it's like to be dark skinned. Because again, I want people to understand, dark skin activism is organic. The stuff that we see now, the social media, that's people are watching me and creating derivatives of my work. My stuff came out of a real, true struggle. I had no idea in '98 that social media would exist. So I couldn't say, oh, let me create something for social media when it comes along later so I can get popping. That's not what happened. I created dark skin activism and developed it over time. And then in 2006, I wrote my play and I just started performing, because I'm also a performer, an actor. So what I decided to do is use my God-given skills and talents to change the world, to talk about what I'm feeling in terms of being a human being in the world, and to express it through art, to express it through oratory, to express it through writing. And it turned into me writing more books on dark skin than anybody in the world, me creating the first platform in history for dark skin. me introducing the topic of dark skin wasn't even a relevant topic. And if we are honest with ourselves, we know that that is the truth. People like to point out Spike Lee's movie. That's not dark skin activism. That's dealing with a topic briefly in a movie for entertainment and moving on. I've been consistent from 98 all the way up into the present, consistently dealing with the issues of dark skin. And I'm the first person to do so. And so a part of that is A Dark Skinned Woman's Revenge, which is my play that I have been performing for years, well before any social media. Let me tell you, if social media became defunct the day of tomorrow, I would still be performing A Dark Skinned Woman's Revenge. I started performing it back in 2006, and I created what I call the Dark Skinned Activist Tour. And it basically consists of me performing A Dark Skinned Woman's Revenge and doing what I have been doing for years called Darkism Talks, where I'll go and I'll perform the play. It's a one-woman show. I play 5 different dark-skinned characters from different socioeconomic backgrounds. After the play is over with, people always wanted to talk to me. So I would do an audience talk back about the issues discussed in the play. And so that's what the play is all about. And it's for the first time, I'm going to be doing a live stream pay-per-view version of this play that I've been doing for years, because people would say to me after social media came along and they knew that I was performing, they would say, well, why don't you live stream this so that we can see the play? And it took me a while, because I am a self-producing artist. It took me a while to figure out how to get that done and to, of course, get the funding. Funding is always a problem and an issue for a self-producing artist. So to put all that together, and now I have the play coming up on Saturday, November 17th, and anybody anywhere in the world, they can watch the play. All they got to do is purchase the live stream ticket, the live stream pay-per-view ticket at my website, which is darkskinactivist.com. So that's the backstory of A Dark Skinned Woman's Revenge.
All righty then. That was a lot to take in, sister. You really went through a whole lot of history there, 1998 to the present time.
It's a lot. It's more than that even.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know, if things go well, I plan on being there to see you live.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And I plan to bring some guests too, hopefully, to see you.
I really appreciate that.
And I think it's going to be very, very interesting and very enjoyable. And for those of you who are out there in TV land, if you are in the Atlanta area, November the 17th, 2018, in the description box, probably not right now, but I will put in the description box the link to the sister's website, where she has all the information that we need in order to purchase the tickets live in Atlanta. Also, if you can't be in Atlanta, you can get those tickets on that site and purchase the pay-per-view. So we will do that. Yes, but I know that what you're saying, and it's dear to your heart about being the original person, the original one, the original creator of Dark Skin Activism. And well, before I continue, let me go to the chat room. We got a question here from our one of our favorite YouTubers, Syrian Jew, and they want to ask you a question. What's your goal for dark-skinned women? What's your goal?
Well, the main goal, dark skin. Okay, let me backtrack a little bit again, because like you were saying, it's a lot of history.
Yeah.
The organic, raw, real, true origin of dark skin activism started with me being picked on by black males, calling me ugly, black and ugly. That's where it came from. So I've always had a burning desire, and I'm a lot of criticism, but all I can do is be honest and tell people what it is. I always had a burning desire to gain the approval of the black man. So a large part of dark skin activism's goal is to gain the approval of the black man in regards to having black men see dark skinned women as beautiful. Obviously, it started with me wanting to get the same black men or black young males at that time in schools that were calling me ugly wishing in my head that they would see me as beautiful. So that carried over into, I wish that in general, Black men would see dark-skinned women as beautiful. As I grew up, like I said, with Alec Weck, when I researched her, I found out that she was under attack as well. Some of the same attacks that I did. So in my mind, the mission has always been to get Black men to see dark-skinned women as beautiful. And the end goal is nationhood, building a nation. In my mind, marriage and nationhood. That's what it all boils down to for me. That's one of the chief goals. And that goal goes hand in hand with economics. To bring dark-skinned people worldwide on the same level economically as their non-dark-skinned peers. So another element of dark-skinned activism that people, they always want to argue with me and say, oh, you don't like light-skinned people, which is absolutely ridiculous. But they're not seeing the bigger picture here. The bigger picture is socioeconomic. Okay. When you look around the world and you see that the dark-skinned people, the darkest people of the world, are the ones that are suffering the most economically, socially, and politically, that's a problem. That's called global darkism. That's what I call it. Global, I call it, there's another subdivision of that. Systemic economic darkism. All we got to do, if you don't believe me, and if you're an honest person, an ethical, honest, moral, upright person, look at the continent of Africa, and clearly you can see that Africa it's not in a good economic state. It has the resources there, but there's a problem when we get down to the question of why isn't Africa on par economically with its non-dark-skinned counterparts around the world. So we have to solve those political and economic issues. And in my book, because the people are clearly dark-skinned, it's all a part of darkism. So that's the bigger picture in terms of looking at it from a global perspective.
Could I ask Rashida's a question? Okay, I understand, like the platform of darkism, but okay, I have this question. Every light-skinned offspring is produced by a dark-skinned person. Would I be correct in making that analysis?
That's correct.
Okay, so I mean, what's your thoughts on this? Like with all of these mixed people. I mean, I've listened a lot to you, and you talk about I think you talked about like Lil Wayne, Kendrick Lamar, and how they praise these mixed women, the Paula Pattons, and I mean, you're very beautiful to me. So I personally don't understand how anybody could ever, how you could ever have any type of self-esteem issues. You're beautiful.
Well, thank you. I did, and I do. It's a result.
I don't understand it.
But to answer, well, I mean, let me deal with the question of biracial people. I'm hoping that I'm answering your question. If I'm not, you could just cut in and interrupt me. Biracial people are not Black. Let me just state that from the outset. In my head, biracial people are not Black. Stating that a biracial person is not Black is not, I'm not insulting them. If they feel like they're insulted, then they are feeling insulted by what is the truth. It's not Rashida, I'm telling the truth. So for example, I like to use Barack Obama because people have erroneously called him the first Black president. He's not the first Black president. He's the first mixed race president. He is as much white as he is Black. His mother is white, which is a fact. His father is Black, which is a fact. He's a mixed race biracial man. And that's not an insult. It's like 1 + 1 is 2. That's not an insult. That's just the facts. But some people will listen to me say, oh, a person that is biracial is not Black. And that to them, they'll say, oh, you bashing that person. Bashing that person is saying something like, you ugly, no good, da 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 da. And I've never done that because I don't need to do that. Unless that person that's different from their character. If they have bad character and they've done something bad, then that's a totally different thing. But saying that a biracial person is biracial and not Black is not insulting them. It's simply to state the truth. I don't have a problem with biracial people in and of themselves being a human being, because that wouldn't make any sense. What I have a problem with, what I'm attacking, is privilege and maltreatment of dark-skinned people.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not even, honestly, it's not about non-dark-skinned people. It's not even about them, but somehow they insert themselves into a conversation about dark-skin discrimination. You know, it happens all the time. It's actually not about them. So when I talked about, for example, let me get on Kendrick Lamar. Let me deal with that. You mentioned Kendrick Lamar. Lil Wayne is, I mean, he's just a straight up Kendrick Lamar. He kind of slick with his. He's not coming out directly attacking dark skin. He ain't doing that. Lil Wayne, he directly attacks dark skinned women. I have no love for him in that regard. He's a self-hater, definitely. Kendrick Lamar, stating that I have an issue with Kendrick Lamar's dating and marriage choice, is about Kendrick Lamar more than it's about, in my head. And I can only tell you what's in my head, and people can take my comments and interpret it as they will, but I'm telling you what it is, what I was thinking. It's not about the woman, because the man is ultimately going to choose and select who they're going to be with. So it's about the man and his choice. Again, let me get back to dark skin activism and why I really started it. It was about gaining the approval of the black man. Has nothing, never had anything to do with the women. I mean, no shade to the women. I'm just keeping it real here. This is the reconciliation between me and these. In my head, I can see these black boys in school that I was having it out with, who was calling me black and ugly on a day-to-day basis. That's who I'm thinking about when I make these comments. Yes, so it has nothing to do with the women. Okay. I'm just, there's no other way for me to say this. Like, I'm not throwing shade at the women. It just doesn't have anything to do with them. I got a bone to pick with the black men not choosing me. Again, first it started with me. And again, now I see that this is a larger issue. And so it's expanded to the issue of black men and dark-skinned women. So it has nothing to do with necessarily the women. It's the choice of the man. Why are you not giving dark-skinned women an equal chance? Why are we, in my book, Token Dark Girl, the It Dark Girl of the Moment, I refer to dark-skinned women as second-class citizens of black beauty. Why are we the second-class citizens of black beauty?
Yes.
These questions arise, and we have to grapple with these questions. People are grappling with them, but I
have a question for you before you have to leave. Okay. No, the question, and I want you to touch on this. Why are so many dark-skinned people just like yourself, 100% pure black or African, whatever the case may be? Why are so many pure dark-skinned people mixing with non-black races, creating these biracial children? I just want you to touch on that one, sister.
Of course, because they got self-hate in them. They have a level of self-hate in them that they have not been able to effectively deal with. Because I could have easily, if people really understood the extent of the darkism that I face on a day-to-day basis in school, particularly starting from middle school and going up to high school. If people really understood that, then they would say, well, why you ain't, and I've had people ask me this, why aren't you with a white man? Why aren't you with a Spanish man? Because I understand the dynamics of self-love. I understand genocide also. I understand that the solution is not for me to say, I'm going to, write these black people off. And I hate y'all so much. Y'all treated me so bad. I'm going to go in and jump ship and it's going to be better. That's not going to make anything better. I always believe that you should deal with the problem head on. Okay. It's almost like these people that go around, they have whatever issues that they're having in life and they start drinking or they start doing drugs. Well, guess what? The drugs and the drinking is going to make it worse. It's not going to solve your problem, because when you come down off of that high, the problem is still going to be there. Just like when these black men and women jump ship, racism is still here, honey. And when you have mixed race children, you compound things. It's not going to go away. So for me, I say, let me deal with this head on, AKA dark skin activism. But for these people that are jumping ship, they'll come up with excuses like love is love, or this preference argument, which is all constructed, in my opinion, in America especially. They're weak. These people are weak-minded. And a lot of them don't even realize the extent of their weakness. Because if you're not weak, you're going to stand there and you're going to face the music. And you're going to tussle it out and you're going to work it out and you're going to figure it out until you get to a solution. But some people don't want to go through the struggle. Some people want to take the easy route. They figure, well, you know, we already live in a racist society. Well, maybe if I go over here and jump ship, maybe I'll make life easier on myself. So they want to take the easy route out. But in my opinion, you know, I feel that those black people that are doing this, you're weak. You're not a stand-up woman. You're not a stand-up man. Because if you were, you wouldn't write off your own people. We know that there are 1 billion plus, for example, people in Africa. So you mean to tell me out of 1 billion plus dark people of the world, you can't find one? It doesn't make any sense, logically speaking. So, you know, that's my answer to that.
Okay. All right. I know you're aware of like what happened on the breeding farms. Would I be correct?
Did you say the breeding farms?
Yeah, breeding farms during slavery.
Yes, I have some awareness of it, yes. Okay.
So it's just a quick question. I just want your take on this. Okay, as far as like, all right, when we talk about colorism, when we look at, you know, here today in 2018, we have all of these varieties in complexion. Okay, you know, these, you know, children didn't ask to be brought here, and a lot of them are the product of rape.
Right.
Product of rape, product of incest, product of you know, what happened and what took place, you know, up on the, you know, breeding farms, you know, during the plantation. What would, like, okay, how do you look at it as being a dark-skinned woman when you see all of these different variations of colors, but also looking at the history of racism and white supremacy, how they bred all of this? A lot of these people are offspring of rape. Like, what's your thoughts?
I agree with you on that. I agree that, you know, light-skinned people are victims as well in regards to, like you said, the breeding farms. In regards to, you know, white slave masters sleeping with the slaves. People can't control what color they are. That's never been my issue. It's not about not liking you because you're light skinned or because you're brown skinned. What I don't like is the privilege. So at the heart of this, if we take light skin out of the equation, for example, if we just have a situation where, let's say, we go back in time and it's just the black, dark skinned enslaved Africans and the Europeans. So you got dark skinned people only, no mulatto buffer race, only dark skinned Africans and white people. If you only have those two categories of people, you're still going to have the privilege, because the privilege was based upon the fact that these white people are the ones that are in control, and they are subjugating and enslaving and utilizing economically the darker people, the dark people. So it would still be the issue of privilege. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not necessarily about light-skinned people. In that sense, it's about all light-skinned people. And let me clarify. I'm talking about, when I say light-skinned people, I'm talking about all races, white people included. It doesn't matter. Asians, I don't care what race and nationality you are. I am talking about the privilege of the non-dark versus the dark. So we're taking light-skinned black people out of the equation like that. It's not just, I've always said this, it's not about light-skinned people per se. It's about all light-skinned people, including white people. Why do you have more privilege than me as a dark-skinned person? Why is the westernized countries, the Western countries, why are you more wealthy than the dark-skinned countries? That's bigger than light skin, dark skin. It's a global issue that has to do with the whitest people controlling the wealth and the darkest people suffering. That's my answer to that question. It's just way bigger than light skin, dark skin between black people.
Brother Taalik, I just want to ask a couple questions.
Sure, absolutely.
Brother Taalik.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. The floor is yours, bro.
Yeah. Well, actually, this conversation is going in a direction that's really, really deep, and we don't have time actually to really get into the things. But because the sister got to go, and we really want to stay more focused on what she's doing next month. Next month, November the 17th, Rashida Strober is in Atlanta, Georgia. If y'all can make it, the link will be in the description box of this video, and she's going to be doing pay-per-view. Those of you who can make it to Atlanta in November, come see us live, because I'm gonna be there too. Be on the front row. Shows is.
Thank you. I wanted to add a note to that, because I mean, I do appreciate the questions that the brother asked. I want to add to that I'm also going to be I'm going to be doing a Darkism talk at the Ancient African History Museum the day before the play. So on October 16th, which is Friday, but this is for people that live in Atlanta. I'm going to be dealing with the historical aspect of Darkism. The questions that he was just asking was taking a historical turn, and that's one of the reasons why I like to do like Darkism talks, because then I can go in depth into the historical and political significance of the side of what I do, because I know a lot of people, they see me and they're I don't know what they entertain. They think it's funny. They think this is entertaining. I mean, I can't control what you think, maybe because I might cuss or I might talk loud, but really there's an intellectual component of this, to be honest with y'all. So that's why I started doing the Darkism talk, and just to let people know, I'm not saying this to impress you, I'm telling you, just give you a background. I have a master's degree in political science. I taught at the college level before. I'm still an educator. I have all these books that I've written on dark skin, and so there's a heavy intellectual component to this. But because I like the performing arts, there's also the entertaining aspect of it. So what I did was I broke it up into two components. So Friday is going to be the historical talk that I'm going to give about Darkism at the Ancient African History Museum in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's going to be, it actually consists of a museum tour. It's a really wonderful museum. So you get a chance to come and tour the museum. And then the talk starts at 7 p.m. So the doors open at 5 o'clock and the talk starts at 7 p.m. And again, it's at the Ancient African History Museum in Atlanta, Georgia. And that's located at 675 Metropolitan Parkway, Suite 3118-B. And all the information is found at my website. But I'm going to be addressing the historical side of this, because everything that I do as the dark-skinned activist has a historical significance, and most importantly, a factual historical foundation. And that's very important for me, because I like facts and I like truth. I don't like that's on a shaky foundation. It's got to come out of truth, or I'm not going to deal with it. That's one of the things I want people to know, that the people that are in Atlanta, and we may even do a free live stream of that one. I don't know yet. That's up to the person that owns the venue. But the talk is going to be on Friday, November 16th. Doors open at 5 o'clock. All the information can be found on my website. And then on Saturday, the show, I ain't just kick your ass show. Y'all been we're not gonna play. It's gonna go down.
Okay. All right. Now, Sister Rashida, now look. Now just be honest with the people.
Sure.
Now, as long as we've known each other, we agree, but we also disagree, right?
Right.
Now, when we disagree, do you get emotional and call me out of my name and talk about and that type of thing? And do I get emotional and call you out your name and things? I mean, is that how we roll?
No.
Don't we talk like we civilized human beings and you disagree and when it's all said and done, you my sister and I'm your brother?
Absolutely.
See, I've been having a problem lately with these grown adult men, and I was told that men aren't emotional like women. But these guys, I mean, as soon as you disagree with what they're talking about, they just, and you don't have no education, and you are Negro, and you are Uncle Tom, and what? Well, I mean, I don't understand that mindset and mentality. I just don't get it. You know, I don't find most sisters that I talk with, I don't usually have that problem. It's always the brothers, even to the point, meet me outside, I'll kick your ass. What? I've never had a sister tell me, I'm gonna meet you at your house and beat you up and crazy. I've never had a sisters don't be doing that to me. You know, these brothers, I'm gonna have to get y'all sisters together and get y'all together so we can accomplish something, because the brothers just said, Public Enemy said, way back in the day, it was a rap song. Public Enemy said, brothers need to work it out. That was a long time ago. They ain't made it yet. I
think it's a social media infused thing for views and all that kind of stuff. Because the fact of the matter is, I mean, I'm used to debating with people. I've debated with a lot of people, and again, I don't say stuff to impress people. I'm giving you background so you understand. As a graduate student, that's what we did. We read the works of different philosophers and intellectuals, and we debated the points back and forth. That's the nature of intellectual discourse. So as a graduate student and as a professor, I'm used to just the intellectual debate where people disagree and the class is over and I'll see you tomorrow. Right. So that's nothing to me. It doesn't bother me. But with social media, I think that it's people like to see people argue. So I think that sometimes people want to create the entertaining component of it. So, I mean, the intellectual part is still there, but the bitch motherfucker, you know what I'm saying, comes out because they know that that's going to get people's attention to have like arguments like with people with people going off. And I have done that too. I've done both of them. I've done the calm, nice debates where nobody, but what I will say is I didn't start getting into the combative argumentative debates until social media. I was actually shocked because I never engaged in that type of debate where people were actually hostile towards each other. It was never any hostility because it doesn't make sense. If you're debating somebody on some points of history, there's no need to be angry about it when you have the facts to back you up. Or there's no need to be angry about it if it's that person's opinion. Fine. It's that person's opinion and you just kind of jousting back and forth. But I think that social media has added a different component just because people want to entertain people. So people like to see people argue and bicker and fight. They thrive off of it. They get more views off of it. I mean, it's a good and a bad thing, but I think it's definitely bad because it kind of takes away from the learning aspect. You can really learn both sides. That's very important. As my undergraduate degree or bachelor's degree is in history, and I like knowing all sides. I want the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I want to be able to sit there and look at it objectively, and then come to a conclusion based upon the objective facts. And so I think that sometimes YouTube takes away from that because people are sacrificing that for entertainment value. But what I can say is I've had a lot of people about this topic of colorism and darkism. They'll watch these videos and then they'll come to me and say, Rashida, they'll quietly come and say, do you have any books that you recommend? They always go back to the scholars. So what I do know is that intellectualism wins out. That's a fact. After all the hoopla and cussing and carrying on, you got to be standing on a solid, firm intellectual foundation. So that's why I do the darkism talks, and then we can switch it over here to this, you know, the entertaining stuff where we dealing with the raw reality of the everyday life of dark-skinned women. It might not be so cute and so pretty, but then we go back and we say, okay, here's the historical context. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Well, I tell you, see, in this case, a lot of these gentlemen don't even have to be on social media. They can be a private telephone call out on the street, drinking a beer. They don't care. I mean, they just emotional type folks, but that's another story or whatever. But I know that you don't have that much time. I did want to let the people know. I talked to you because I know that you're very vibrant about your being the original dark-skinned activist, the original. And you're the one that put all this on the platform here. And I brought to you the fact that I myself became sort of original, and I created something called the Mississippi Campaign.
Right.
And I told you about the situation that I had a fella, you know, basically ripping off my idea, our concept. Actually, another brother and I came together one night, and we came up with this concept. And this other fella heard it, and he decided he didn't like the original concept and decided to go out and twist things around and make it. And I told you, I said, well, it's, you know, I came to you, Rashida, I said, it's all right. You know, it's, you know, he can do his thing. Well, what did you tell me, Rashida, about that?
No, I have zero respect, zero love for anybody. And this is a problem that has become super prevalent on social media, because anybody can sit back and watch you quietly. Nobody knows. They sitting at home or on their phone or wherever and study your ideas and thief them. I have the biggest, I can't even put into words the amount of disrespect and dislike that I have for people that do that. You're unoriginal, you're unethical, you're immoral, you lack creativity, you lack critical thinking. If you can't come up with your own original ideas, and yes, I do believe people say, well, there's nothing new under the sun. I don't believe that. I think that people can, out of necessity, come up with original ideas. They've done it before. Okay. And so what I think needs to happen, especially with, well, this is a problem all across YouTube. It doesn't matter what color you are. I've seen it. People rip people off of all colors. But we talk about Black YouTube. We need to start having respect for each other. There's no respect. You got people watching people videos, stealing content, stealing ideas, creating derivatives of people's work. And those people, if at all possible, they should be dealt with legally. So don't let them get away with it. Fight for what you created. That's why people get mad at me, say, oh, well, it doesn't matter who. Yes, it does matter who created. This is my blood, sweat, and tears, originality, and legacy. I put in the work. I came up with these ideas, and I'm gonna get my credit. And that's the way it should be. So I feel like when you come, I told you, fight for it. If you need to fight for it on a legal level, fight for it on a legal level, because it's just wrong. I mean, it's no other way to put it than to just say it straight up. You're wrong for stealing another Black person's ideas. You're wrong. Come up with your own ideas. And then if you're going to be inspired, be honest about where you're getting your work from or your ideas from. So we have a big problem with that. And some of these people are going to have to be made legal examples. They're going to have to be sued. They're going to have to be dealt with legally, so that people know, the young people that's coming up, because they're just going to keep using social media, that they will know, hey, somebody set a precedence that I'm not going to take you stealing and ripping off my work. And this is what I did about it, to show you that I'm not going to take it. So that others that's coming behind might think twice about watching somebody and ripping them off.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's how I feel about that.
Yes, ma'am. Well, with that said, we're out of time, because I know that you got to go, you got to fly. But again, this is today's guest is Rashida Strober, the world's first dark-skinned activist, my buddy and my friend, Rashida.
Thank you.
We're going to have you back, because there were comments, more questions in the chat room that we didn't have a chance to get to, and it's very, very interesting.
Okay, I'll give you. Let's go for about 15 minutes. And I just want to say real quick, the reason why I'm leaving is because I want to let everybody know I work a full-time job. I worked last night. I didn't go to sleep. I've been up since 8 o'clock this morning. I didn't go to sleep from working last night. That's why I'm kind of like, ugh. But yeah, I'll spend a little bit more time answering some of the questions.
Okay, well, we'll shoot this one at you real quick. Okay. We're talking about Black. We're talking about biracial. We're talking about all these different things. Mm-hmm. Of course, Brother Craig brought up the breeding farms and these things. And you say that biracial is not Black, which I agree. And then I sort of disagree to a certain point, if you understand of what Black is. But I want to know, what is your understanding? What is Black?
Black to me is if you got two Black parents. So if I go back to the example of Barack Obama, for example, I would not consider Barack Obama Black because it's clear cut. His mother is white and his father is Black. So to me, he would be a mixed race man as opposed to being a Black man. And I don't know if people are going off of the one drop rule. Mm-hmm. I have totally dismissed, stumped on, took it like a piece of paper, balled it up and threw it out, the one drop rule. I don't subscribe to that. Because the one drop rule, in my opinion, was a rule that was created for white slave masters to deal with their immoral activity. They were sleeping with these slave women, abusing them, having children, and they couldn't say that they were white kids. Mm-hmm. So they said, let's make them figure out a way to make them Black. If you have one drop of Black blood, then you are Black. But if you go to Africa, that's not the case over there. One drop of Black blood in you does not make you Black in, for example, Ghana. And if you guys don't believe me, go do your research. Mm-hmm. Make you Black. And Africa should be the standard. What the Ghanaians, for example, believe, we should take their word, because they're all the way Black, phenotypically all the way dark skin. Uh-huh. We should take their word of what is Black over what a European slave master who concocted a law, which they do all the time. They create laws for their own benefit. Sometimes money is even made by the Federal Reserve for their own benefit. So human beings, create laws that are not intrinsic for their own benefit.
Ms. Rashida, could I please start here just to ask you this just real quick? Okay, you said to be considered Black, you have to have two Black parents, correct?
Right.
What if you have like two or three times white European great grandparent? Great great grandma or great great grandpa was Irish or some other non-Black race. I want to get your take on that, because I understand, I've heard that so many times, you got to have two Black parents. What about your great great grandparents? You having an Irish great great grandparent?
Right, and I grapple with that. Let me give you an example. Two people. Tiffany Haddish is one person, and that's a whole nother topic. I said that Tiffany Haddish was mixed, and people were pissed off about it, which I don't care. I mean, I'm grappling with whether or not she's all the way Black, just because of the question that you asked. I'm also grappling with whether or not Malcolm X is all the way Black. So that's a very valid question that I am grappling with. But what I can tell you is clear-cut examples of people like Barack Obama, who have a clear white mom and a clear Black dad. That's mixed. What I could also tell you, phenotypically, if a person, to me, if I see them and they do not appear to be Black, but they're saying they're Black. Let me think of somebody. For example, let's see, y'all could think of somebody who says that they're Black, but phenotypically they do not look Black. There's a lady named Corinne Huff. I'll throw her out there. Y'all could Google her. Okay. She's considered to be the mother of Black beauty pageants. But if you see this woman, she looks like she's white. And she would probably fit into what you're saying about having a grandparent or a great grandparent who's white. But this woman has been deemed the mother of the Black beauty pageants. Let me give you another example. Vanessa Williams. Do we know who Vanessa Williams is? Vanessa Williams to me is not Black. She probably would fit into what you're saying about having a great grandparent that's white. She wouldn't. So I also go off of the phenotype. If I can't look at that person, so for example, I could look at Brother Taalik and I could clearly and definitively, there's no doubt about you being Black. I could clearly see that. If you said that you was mixed with something, I wouldn't believe it. I would just be like, what are you talking about? I mean, so I'm going off of the phenotype, the dark skin, the skin tone, and the coarse hair. Those are the markers of Blackness. We all know this. So when we start getting into, well, my grandparents were, you know, Scottish or whatever, then we got to start looking at the phenotype. Phenotype is very important in defining Blackness. That's why I believe that dark skin and nappy hair should be the definitive Black, because people are confused because of laws like the 1-drop rule. It confuses people. Meghan Markle, for example, the young lady that let's throw her in there, that married into the royal family. She's not Black. She's not Black. I mean, her mother, I saw her mother. Her mother is light-skinned, a light-skinned Black woman who could potentially be mixed with something other than Black, but her father is clearly a white man. So the thing is we get confused because we are not clearly Black people. I'm not talking about white people anymore, because they already did the defining and confusing everybody with the 1-drop rule. Black people have got to start defining what's Black. And in my mind, the definitive Black is a dark-skinned person with kinky, nappy hair. And I'm gonna tell you why. It's simple. If you go look at Africa, and I know what some people gonna say, oh, there's light-skinned people. I know that. I'm not arguing that point. There's absolutely brown skin and light skinned people in Africa. But I can guarantee you, and I told y'all I care about what is factual. The facts will show you that the majority of Africa's billion-plus population is dark skinned with nappy hair. That is a fact. You don't believe me? Go do your own research. So based upon that fact, dark skin and nappy hair, it's reasonable. It makes sense. It's logical to say that's the classical Black. Okay.
See, this is a rough topic here. You know, you don't have enough time to deal with it. It's actually, what I was saying,
straightforward in a lot of ways. Some things are complicated, like, you know, the question that he was asking about a person's grandparent going back generations being white, and I threw out Malcolm X, and I just I've admitted over and over again, is Malcolm X really Black? I'll be
you still struggling over it. You haven't given a definitive.
I haven't, not with Malcolm X.
Well, look at this, Sister Rashida.
You're absolutely right. I'm struggling with that.
But look at this. The question I really was raising is actually, what is Black? Because really all these terms that we're using, Black, white, red, yellow, and all like that, all this comes from a racist, dynamic. It was made up by racists. That's where it comes from, because there's no people on this planet, nowhere on the African nation, there's no people on this planet that call themselves Black. There's no people on this planet that call themselves red, yellow, and all these colors. These terms, these definitions did not come until this system of racism was put into place. And then they put, well, to make it very simple for the people, they put folks into these categories: red, white, Black, blah, blah, blah. You know, the technical terms would be mongoloid, cassacoid, and so forth, blah, 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 as that's what they said. But Black, when you talk about Black, there's no there's no dark-skinned people on this planet that call themselves black. Where do this black come from? What is black? And I want to remind us, during slavery, these biracials or these mulattoes, the slave had no problem with them. So I mean, why are we having problems with these mulattoes when the slaves, when these children was born from the slave master, the slave didn't have no problem embracing these children, bringing these people. And a mulatto person or this mixed race person, they can range from the very light skin to the very dark. I've known and seen brothers and sisters, well, I don't know, you may not call them brothers and sisters, but persons of so-called mixed race, they can, and matter of fact, even some of us that's called black. I have a side of my family, they call them the white people of the neighborhood. Because what happened was, they were, well, they was already like to begin with, but they did not marry and breed with darker skinned people. They found lighter skinned people to have children with. And as they continue to do that, the color scheme got lighter and lighter and lighter, and they call my people. Now they related to me. Now you see what I look like. So if I showed you pictures of my relatives, the white people of the neighborhood, be like, they couldn't be related to you, but they are. They married lighter skinned people. Each one of them never went to a dark skinned person. They kept
the slaves didn't have a problem with mulatto people, but apparently, based on what you just said, the lighter skinned people had a problem with the darker skinned people because they continued to marry light so that their offspring would be light skinned. And that was a pattern that actually occurred in slavery and after slavery, where light skinned people would marry only light skinned people to have. So they had a problem with it.
But we know why. We know why, because of the system.
Again, it's all about privilege. That's my point.
Yeah, I understand that.
My point.
But what is black? What is black? I mean, what is the genetic makeup of this black person? Because like the brother was saying, now look, if we go back into the history of slavery, first of all, you have a group of persons that were forced to intermix with one another. A lot of these dark-skinned people would never have nothing to do with one another. Even if you believe the transatlantic slave trade story, they got these slaves not from one tribe, but various tribes. And these tribes was not mixing with one another, even though they was on the continent. But when they were forced, they were brought here, they were forced to interbreed with one another, they began to mix with one another. So then you had the European who was also raping these people, which brought another genetic piece to the puzzle. Now that's not done. Remember, they were also selling our children from one plantation to another, taking them out of their families. So really, when we talk about, well, we're Africans and we talk about who we are related to, you don't even know in the United States who you biologically really are related to out of slavery, when they freed us as a people out of slavery. And remember, children was taken from their parents, put over this farm. And we still do this today. We adopt people. Like I have people that I was calling uncle, was not my biological uncle. We just adopt people because they are our best friends in the family or whatever, and we adopt people. And you got a child here who would never see their parents again on another plantation. And so Big Mama would adopt this child and call that mother this person's mother, but was not his biological mother. Then, of course, you got incest, then you got the breeding farms, and you got so much going on with us. What is a black person?
A black person is a person that was in Africa before the invaders came in. We cannot, I don't think that we need to separate that out. We need to say, we need to look at classical Africa before Europeans came in and invaded, before Arabs came in and invaded, before anybody that was not a black person, a person of the continent came in and invaded. We have to say that that's blackness or whatever you want to assign to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's definitely not us then.
How to define? I mean, you may not want to use the word black.
That's not us then.
They separate themselves then.
Right. I think you may not want to use the actual word black to denote the color, But what I'm saying is, what we need to do is define ourselves before anybody came onto the continent of Africa that was not originally from there. I'm talking about
the Negro of America be separated from the African. Because the Negro of America is a product of all of these ills that happened during chattel slavery. Should we be considered a separate race? That's the question.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then Europeans would have to be, I'm sorry, Americans, white Americans would have to consider themselves a separate race. And I would argue that they don't do that. I think that America is based off of Western ideals, European constructs. If you really look at, America, it's based off of classical European ideals.
Sister
we can't do that.
Yeah, but Sister Rashida, but the American Caucasian white man here didn't go through breeding farm.
No, I understand.
They didn't go through.
But
that's the thing. They still have that connection to where they come from. They didn't go through incest and the biological mixing that we went through.
Black Americans can still have that connection. We do still have that connection if we choose to. I mean,
we don't know.
I might not have the culture because of what you said, but phenotypically, I'm connected, and we connected in other ways. We connected by the music still. There's still ways that we are connected to our culture, but we're just going to have to do a little bit more work as Black people or as Africans in the diaspora all over, not just in America, but even in the Caribbean. We're going to have to do a little bit more work to connect. I don't think we should consider ourselves to be a separate race.
And the reason I say separate,
look at this, Sister Rashida. I'm gonna give you this small, simple example. I always use this as my dog. My dog was a German Shepherd, Chinese Chow mix. Okay. The mother was pure German Shepherd, father pure Chinese Chow. My dog looked like a German Shepherd, so could easily go on to that side. Okay. But looks don't mean nothing. Just like if a mixed person or somebody with a variety of genetic DNA, they can look like anything in their DNA. So my dog did not have to look like a German Shepherd. Just so happened she looked like a German Shepherd. She could have easily looked like the Chinese Chow. The thing about it is she's not a German Shepherd. She's not a Chinese Chow because you mixed here. She's neither. She's neither. When you mix a black crayon with a white crayon, you get gray. There is no black and white. That crayon cannot be black and it cannot be white. It's gray. So they become their own separate and brand new life form. I suggest to us, that's what has happened to us, the so-called Negro in America. That's what has happened to us. That's why you cannot take a specific male or female. If you go to the African continent or whatever, and go to these different tribes, you can pick out a certain male or female that can represent the look of that tribe. But there is no specific, because we range in skin color. We range from the very light to the very dark. We fat, we skinny, we have broad nose, we have thin noses, we have thick lips, we have thin lips. Because of that, because that's all in our genetic pool, there's no specific person that you can say. I mean, people look at me and say, you are African such and such. Don't mean nothing. It's in my gene pool. Because of this what has happened to the so-called Negro, soul brothers and sisters in this nation.
I got a question for you.
In fact, when you first start hearing about the word black, it was after the creation of us in this nation, the new product that was born from out of chattel slavery, and we was bred just like any other animal. Just like a chicken. Some chickens were bred to lay eggs. Some chickens were bred for meat. We were treated just like animals, and this new people that came out of the original stock, whatever that original stock was, we was bred to be perfect slaves. And if you look at our behavior and how we think, how we carry ourselves, whatever, you see that's what we are.
I get
we
that.
Always got to find something to worship and serve.
I'm not against that, but that still doesn't negate the fact that we were.
Got a question.
That it wasn't like we came willingly like Europeans did.
Rashida, I got a question for you before you break out. This is, I've dealt with you before. I bring very valid questions. Okay, when you say phenotypically, I want to hear your response. Okay, I have 2 sisters. They are my second cousins. They have the same father and the same mother. When you say phenotypically, that's what defines a person as being black. I have second cousins. They are, sisters. One came out looking like Paula Patton. The other one came out looking very dark skinned like Oprah Winfrey with kinky hair. The other one has has curly hair. So what I'm saying, phenotypically, just looking at these 2 sisters, would we say that the one that looks like Oprah Winfrey, that's more dark skinned with the kinky hair, is the black one? And even though they both have the same mother and the same father, and the one that came out on the lighter complexion with the curly hair isn't black?
Well, we know that black women and black people can produce albinos. We know that black people can produce the color spectrum. We know that. But my argument is going to remain the same. For me, the definitive classical black is a dark-skinned, kinky-haired person. And again, I base that reasoning off of that's the majority. That's what the majority looks like in Africa. That's a fact. So it's not to say that the light-skinned person is any less black than the dark-skinned person that came from the same mother and father, but it is to say that dark skin and nappy hair is the classical black. Just like if you go study European history, I almost can guarantee that you're going to find that the classical European look is the blonde hair and the blue eyes. They don't go around necessarily putting down people that's white that don't have blonde hair and blue eyes. If they have, I don't know, brown eyes and red hair, but they all know that it's an unspoken rule what the classical European looks like. So I think that black people need to, it's been the reverse with black people. Light skin has been on the top. When the majority, it makes no sense because the majority are actually dark skinned. See, I'm only going off of what's factual here. I mean, I'm not going off of anything that I think. I'm going off of what I physically can see. Okay. The majority of black people are dark skinned. I'm talking worldwide. Dark skin, nappy hair. But the people that are at the top, the upper echelons of black power, for example, we can go back to Barack Obama. He became the first black president. It's no coincidence that he's biracial. So that's unfair. That's not balanced. That's not, I'm not okay with that. I'm never going to be okay with that.
I mean, okay.
Let me
a different race. Okay, go ahead.
As black people, we have to admit to ourselves that dark skin, I don't care if you want to call them black, I don't care if you want to call them whatever you want. Phenotypically, the darker people with the nappy hair, they're the majority, and that's what should be considered the classical African phenotype, the classical look, because that is the majority. That's a fact. Well, I don't know why we keep fighting against that. It makes no sense.
Okay, I think with my brother, okay, well, all right. No, okay, I have 2 questions. I have a question in the statement. Okay, my first question would be, well, no, okay, let's go into the statement. So should we just, okay, so I understand what you're saying when we talk about phenotypically, you know, what a pure black person should look like. So what should we do with the, you know, millions of others?
Love I didn't say do anything wrong.
I mean, no, I'm not saying do anything wrong. I'm just saying like they should be classified as a separate race. They're not black.
I'm not saying well if they're
Obamas, the Colin Kaepernicks.
They're biracial. If you're talking about, I thought you was just talking about light-skinned black people, but you're talking about biracial. There's a difference between a light-skinned black person and a biracial. I'm not talking about, when we talk about biracial, I'm not talking about classing light-skinned black people with 2 black parents in the same class as a biracial person. A biracial person is simply that, a biracial person. It's nothing wrong with them being a biracial person.
What about what Taalik always says, though, as far as like prior to, you know, European colonization, we didn't have a concept as black people of separating people based off of, you know, racial differences as far as like hair textures and skin complexions. And that is in its entirety is a European construct.
Right. So then what we'll have to do is we'll have to create a system of fairness then. That's the whole key here. That's what I keep arguing. It's not fair. It's not fair that Barack Obama, I don't care what anybody says, became the first so-called black president. You're not black. I gotta get out of here, but let me throw this out here. A lot of people gonna be mad about this. Jada Pinkett, in the video for The Blacker the Berry, Tupac said, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Why are you the lead in the video, Jada Pinkett? You're not the blacker the berry. You're to me, you're light skinned. It should have been a dark skinned woman. When we see, that's the thing. We want to reshape and reconstruct things that were a certain way. We want to change it to fit what we want it to be. If you're saying the blacker the berry, what do you think the blacker the berry means? The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. To me, you get a black, y'all ever seen a blackberry? A blackberry is dark. If you saying the blacker the berry, then obviously common sense, the berry should be black. So if you're gonna have a music video and throw in a woman that doesn't look like the blacker the berry, that to me is a fraud. That makes no sense. This is what I'm saying.
Who do we blame for that?
I blame black people for that. I blame white people for that, because we're the ones that's allowing this BS to go on. Jada Pinkett should have never been the lead in that video. She is not the blacker the berry. And the reason why that came up is this new movie that came out, The Hate That You Give. They have a light-skinned young lady that's playing the character role, and they continuously play the part in Tupac's song. They say the blacker the berry. This young lady is not the blacker the berry. She is literally not phenotypically. We got to stop doing stuff like that. That to me is darkism. That type of stuff pisses me off. That to me says that we giving lip service to this black is beautiful thing. We just saying it because it sounds good, but what we gonna really do is we gonna put who we want to put up in there, who we think is beautiful, aka Black Panther Party. Why do we see all light-skinned women at the head of the Black Panther Party? That's not gonna work for me. You can't have Kathleen Cleaver at the top of the hierarchy of the Black Panther Party and then try to sell me black power. That's not working for me. It's a contradiction. Not when I look over there at Africa and I can clearly see the majority of people do not look like no Kathleen Cleaver. You are not speaking for me. It's a question of unfairness that has been going on in the black community for years, and it's got to stop.
Sister, okay. All right, I understand. And I know what you're talking about when you talk about these mulatto saviors. I talk about Colin Kaepernick, and all these people like Barack Obama being placed up in these leadership positions to represent what all black people stand for. So I know what you're talking about when you say that. But okay, to say that like Kathleen Cleaver and Angela, what's her name? Angela, I can't even recall the last name. Angela Davis. I'm not a big fan of her. But okay, during their time, when the Black Panther Party was, formed, weren't they all victims of racism and white supremacy and police brutality?
But again,
what's black power when you underneath the constraints of racism, white supremacy?
They're not I can't accept them as my leaders. I'm just being honest with y'all. I know some people don't want to hear it, but I'm just being honest. They're not my leaders. You're not going to be my same thing with this lady, Zaza Ali.
I believe they're leaders. I agree with you. They don't represent black women. You're right. But
leader. I'll tell them this
can't they still participate in black power? We all are victims. Why is it they don't have to be the leader? I agree with you.
People get to always represent and always get to get the crumbs, because we're all getting the crumbs. They get the crumbs. They get the crumbs like being the first black president. They get the crumbs like being at the helm of the leadership of the Black Panther Party and being on all these speaking engagements. I haven't seen no dark-skinned female, with the exception of Tupac's mom, may she rest in peace, that was at the helm of the leadership for the Black Panther Party. You throwing all these light-skinned women out and you trying to tell me that I got to accept them? No, you got the wrong person. That's not going to work on me, because I'm not the type of person that's a go along to get along bandwagon. If I feel that something is not right, I'm going to tell you, this is why people have problems with me on social media, because I tell them straight up, this is what it is. And they know that that's what it is. And they don't want to face that that's what it is. So that's the conflict between me and them. Right. Kathleen Cleaver, Jada Pinkett, Angela Davis, you're not my leader. you're not. You don't represent me.
Right, that's understandable.
You don't represent me.
Yeah, no, I understand that. That's why I say I definitely understand what you're saying, sister. But I mean, the only question I would have would these people still not be able to participate in the Black Power struggle because they are still victims of racism, white supremacy? So that would be
saying that they can't participate, but I would argue that it is the darkest people, based upon what is factual, that are the most victimized by racism and white supremacy. All we got to do is look at Africa. We see all these black dark people over there. Who was it? The Sierra Leone War. You see dark-skinned people fighting dark-skinned people, killing dark-skinned people. They're the casualties, more so than the non-dark-skinned people. The facts are right there in our face. I just don't understand how people can't see it. It's clearly there. But again, especially in America, we see again and again where the lighter skinned people are chosen to represent Black people, and they're also given the rewards. When the spoils, when they say, well, you know what, we're going to give y'all some crumbs, they get the crumbs first. This has been going on since slavery, where even if you go back to the days of slavery, the mulatto children were even able to get out of slavery before the dark-skinned people, because their father, of course, was white and had money, and they could buy their way out of slavery. And then after they got out of slavery, of course, they were the first to get access to education, to get access to land, all of these things. It's always been more privilege. This is facts. I'm not making this stuff up. Anybody can do a brief study of history and confirm everything I'm saying. All I'm saying, level the playing field. Stop trying to make these light-skinned people my leader, because Rashida Strober, the dark-skinned activist, I'm not going to accept it. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to sit there and be smiling and kiki and teaching my daughter that Meghan Markle is somebody to look up to. No, honey, you're not Black. I want my daughter to aspire to marry a Black man. That's success to me. Not trying to emulate a biracial woman and marrying a non-Black man. We got it all twisted. We got to untwist this thing.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Yeah, no, I hear what
Lauren said, seriously?
all the questions would be like, who's responsible for electing Barack Obama into his presidency? You had plenty of dark-skinned people voting for him. So what I'm saying is, I mean, I don't support Barack Obama. I never did. I don't support the Democratic Party in general, because no party really stands for Black people, except for the party that you talked about, which is the Black Panther Party. You know, so what I'm saying is, you know, who are these people who are supporting these mulattoes, like the Colin Kaepernicks and? Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, that's the question.
You're right, and there's still a lot of self-hating Black people who don't understand, who believe. I went to college with a lot of them down here in Florida. I remember how the Black women would run up to the biracial women and be like, "Oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, I love your hair." Why they wearing all this weave in their hair, and you know they don't like their own natural hair and their skin, but they were so yes, dark-skinned people are not innocent here. Dark-skinned people are on trial because we got a lot of self-hatred going on within ourselves. A lot of us don't like our skin. A lot of us don't like our hair. And when we see a light-skinned person with so-called good hair and they look a certain way, we put them on a pedestal. I don't do that. I happen to go the opposite way based upon what is factual. So let me put it like this. Let's say the majority of people in Africa were light-skinned with non-kinky hair. Then I would have the same argument. That's classical Africanness, Blackness, whatever name you want to give it. That's the classical look for the people of that area of the world. That's what I would say. But in this case, the majority of people happen to be dark-skinned with nappy hair. So that's the classical look. So I'm just saying, why aren't we basing who we are off of our real, true history? Why are we going in the opposite direction? It's illogical. It doesn't make sense. It's not to say I don't like you or I hate you. That has nothing to do with it. It's to uplift who we really are.
Taalik, what about what you always say about how we are just like nectarines? We are a new creation. Like, okay, Sister Rashida, are you 100% African? Like, do you have like DNA test?
I honestly, I don't know. And if I wasn't, I would be very, very upset. and very disappointed and very conflicted and very angry, to be honest with you, because I don't want to be anything other than all the way black.
Okay.
With all the stuff, that bad stuff that comes along with it. I mean, I already done suffered for being dark skinned. So you're not finna tell me that I'm not all the way. I mean, I suffered the real suffering for literally being dark.
Wow.
So you're not gonna tell me that I have people try to come and tell me that you're crazy. That's not, you better take back all them insults, and you better give me my economic and my monetary power. You better give me my top of the line husband. You better give me my top of the line education. You better give me everything that comes along with being with the privilege that goes along with being non-dark skinned if I'm not really black. I got out of here, y'all.
I mean, you look black. If you had 10% of Irish up in your DNA, you're still black.
I'd be in denial.
You would be in denial, but as far as like scientifically and genetically,
I would be in denial. I would fight.
We all come from out of those slaves.
Hey, brother Chris, she sound like some guys we know.
Yeah, she sure does. Yeah.
I'm being honest. I would be in denial. I would be in denial.
I mean, but you know about the like I was saying earlier, the breeding farms and what happened during slavery and our ancestors.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise to you, would it?
It would. I actually
would be a surprise just based on you phenotypically, is what you're saying. The way you're very dark skin and your kinky hair.
I would be surprised overall. I just would. That's just
because of the way you look, because of your physical features.
Because of my physical features, because of the experience that I've had, all of that. I would be like in complete and utter shock and denial, and I would deny it.
Maybe we should pay for you to get a DNA test.
Maybe so.
On both sides, so we can find out.
Maybe so.
Share those results online.
There you go.
Well, with that said, I know Rashida, she's long overdue. I know you stayed a little bit longer than you were scheduled, but I just want to remind the audience, all of you, again, we want to support Sister Rashida in her efforts to bring this her play to Atlanta, Georgia, on November the 17th, 2018. Your boy gonna be there. Unless something happened to me, there's a lot of folks out there want to beat me up for some reason. I might not make it, Rashida. I might not make it.
I'm in the same beat up category, but I don't care.
You gonna have security? Wow. But yeah, I'm going to put the link to her website. It's not going to be there now, but I am going to put that link to her website where you can purchase tickets. If you are in the Atlanta area, please come out and and check this sister out.
Thank you,
Sister Rashida. I will be there. I
really do.
we're gonna be there and have a good time after the play is over. And it's gonna be, if you can't make it, it's pay-per-view. Just go to the website, get your tickets. Whether you can be in Atlanta or not, let's support our sister. This is a real good sister. Let me tell y'all something. I haven't known Rashida for a very long time, but I've known her long enough where, and she's proven to me she's a very good sister. We can have our disagreements and we can have our ups and downs, whatever. Matter of fact, just recently I had a problem with Sister Rashida. I brought it to her, and she passed things with flying colors. And I mean, the way she handled the situation was marvelous. So I can't complain about the sister. I have to support my sister. But I got to bring you back because you said some things, and I need to put you on the witness stand. I need to drill you a little bit.
Fine. I'm ready.
Yeah, we're gonna do this.
Grill me on the day where I'm like real.
I want you wide awake.
You can always put me on the witness stand. I've been on trial for the longest anyway, so it's nothing. I'm ready.
I don't want you sleepy. I want you wide awake.
Okay.
So, yeah, we couldn't cover everybody's comments and questions, but like I said, we're gonna Sister Rashida, she's gonna come back because she's my buddy. She's gonna come back with us. We're gonna deal with this topic a little bit further. But today we really want to emphasize on the sister bringing her play to Atlanta, Georgia, and we want y'all to be there. So with that said, I want to thank you, Sister Rashida, for spending a little bit more time than you had participated, because you know how these topics are. They can be.
Oh yeah.
You know.
And I want to thank y'all for watching, and for the brother question, Craig, your questions, and everybody for watching. I appreciate it.
Definitely.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Peace.
Yeah. So thank you, Sister Rashida. Thank you, Brother Administrator of Information, Brother Craig, for being here. And all of you, Sister Ann is in the chat room, Syrian, and who else is in there? Oh, my brother Cool Cutter. Who else is in there? Just everybody in the chat room.
Out the box.
All of you who will listen to this video and afterwards, thank you for participation. And again, we're going to invite Sister Rashida back so we can have a continue this discussion. With that said, as Dr. Cornelius always said, our ancestor, he says in closing, I wish us love, peace, and soul. And we are going off air.